Digital public infrastructure is transforming how societies deliver services, unlock opportunity, and build resilience. But sharp cuts to development assistance means fewer resources for countries to sustain transformation. The pandemic spurred demand and investment in DPI, but without support, these efforts risk stalling. Amid these pressures, the 15/5 campaign turns cooperation into outcomes, despite unprecedented funding cuts, ensuring no country has to go it alone. By sharing best practices and technologies, countries reduce duplication and cost, and embed safety, inclusivity, and interoperability into their DPI. Digital public goods facilitate collaboration by bringing countries together around open, reusable technologies that create trust and enable innovation. DPGs help governments stay on track with their digital transformation efforts, letting them move fast and lower the cost of building DPI while preserving sovereignty. In a changing world, 15/5 shows that cooperation through the adoption and sharing of DPGs is powerful. For countries, it is a pathway to accelerate transformation and resilience. For funders, supporting DPG cooperation is a smart investment. Together, we can keep DPI cooperation in motion.
Excellencies, guests, my name is Liv Nordhaug. I'm the CEO of the Digital Public Goods Alliance Secretariat, and I will be your moderator today. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the second annual Milestone event for the 15/5 campaign to advance safe, inclusive, and interoperable digital public infrastructure. The 15/5 campaign was launched in November 2023 by 11 first-mover countries, and the community of participating countries has grown rapidly. And I'm going to give you a final count of participating countries at the end of the event. 15/5 countries represent different geographies and income levels, but they share a commitment to build and evolve their DPI and to share learnings and best practices with other countries as part of their own journeys. And the adoption and sharing of digital public goods, which are relevant open source solutions that can be reused and adapted to meet contextual needs, play an important role in 15/5. And as we stand here today, digital cooperation is more needed than ever. Unprecedented cuts to international development assistance is making it more critical than ever to succeed with building digital public infrastructure, because these technologies are shared means to many ends. And today, we're going to talk about how we can collaborate to get DPI right together. We have a very full agenda, and we are a little bit behind schedule, so therefore I will be a very strict moderator. And also, there will be a little bit of coming and going throughout, because that's how the UN General Assembly works. But we are incredibly grateful to everyone for making time for this event, including those that are watching the live stream. But let's get started right away. It is now my great pleasure to invite on stage for an inspiring opening discussion, Salima Munur-Maba, Minister of Communications, Technology and Innovation of Sierra Leone, Bosun Tijani, Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Nigeria, and Sina Lawson, Minister of Digital Economy and Transformation of Togo. Ministers, thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you.
In today's event, we really want to highlight the growing trend we're seeing for more regional cooperation in scaling digital public infrastructure. And as 3 West African countries, I really want to hear from each of you what are some of the specific cooperation activities that you have already initiated or would like to explore further. And I'm asking also because there is this global DPI summit coming up in Cape Town later, for instance, that I know many here will be at. And we really want to make sure that we continue to bring these discussions forward. But I wanted to hear from you what's happening. And Minister Ba, I wanted to start with you to ask about some of the things that are happening, but also what you would like to see happen in terms of digital cooperation in your region.
Thank you so much, Liv, and really congratulations for putting together this event again. I think we're always grateful to participate in this, and I feel as if three of us are usually here all the time, and then we're happy to be and make time for this. And well, specifically for Sierra Leone, being that we're a proud co-founding member of the DPGA, and because really, towards your point, we see it as a critical vehicle if we think about the region and how we can accelerate digital transformation agenda. We believe the potential it has to do that. But really towards the question of regional cooperation and how we can, and why that is significant to really further move the needle. And I think that's a critical conversation. You know, as you know, when we have conversations at the DPGA board meetings, one of the things we keep talking about is how can we can countries who are participating, of course, making a commitment towards this, moving along, but we think we can go further if, as a region, we really come together and significantly have a framework in terms of how we do this. The vehicles that we have within the region, I think looking at the Smart Africa, looking at ECOWAS, I think we can use those vehicles to really maybe set up standardized models in terms of how we do this, because sometimes the conversation becomes, specifically when we talk about maybe DPGs specifically within the region, maybe there's a feeling of this thing being done to us and not with us. So I think we really need to significantly change that. And the way we do that is, I think, as governments, having more collaboration that way. But I think even in terms of how we develop these solutions, I think we need to build more capacity, have more people within the region developing DPGs, and you know, that would really move that. So in Sierra Leone, one of the things that we've done is actually we've built a DPG pipeline. Because one of the challenges we found was there was a significant gap between owners, contributors, and funders. And we're looking at a way, how do we bring all of this together and to move that? So we recently launched that at the Sierra Leone Innovation Tech Summit. The platform itself is an open source, so we're looking at how we further improve on that, and I think really collaborating across with our different partners, different other countries, to see how we can improve and build on top of that, because we don't see it as just a Sierra Leone only solutions. We think it could really be a great avenue to really move the needle.
Thank you, Minister Ba. So, Minister Tijani, to put you on the spot, in Nigeria, what are you thinking about the potential for regional cooperation and what's brewing?
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity and for putting this together. I think this is one of those topics as a minister that excites me, because, you know, if you're ICT minister, there's always a set of things that we all worry about, right? If it's not connectivity, it's going to be digital transformation in society. You know, it may be digital skills and a few things. But I think DPI for me, and I always like to set this foundation when I have the opportunity to hold a mic and talk about DPI, gives the world a very unique opportunity to be able to close the gap between government and the people that we serve. Because really that gap it's all about citizens asking for better delivery of public services. I think DPI has been able to demonstrate that if the frameworks and the principles are properly adhered to and followed, that nations can actually accelerate how we deliver public services to our people using technology. I think we all have to give a round of applause. We've probably done this in many occasions. To India, we should please help give a round of applause to India. for the amazing example of ADA and how the DPI principle is really truly helped to show that we can support the most vulnerable people with technology. What we're looking at in Africa, Nigeria is now the champion for digital trade under the AFCFTA. That's been handled by our Ministry of Trade and Investment. But they came up with an exciting solution which I'm supposed to help champion, which is how we identify Africans when they're trading across border. How do we simplify the process if an entrepreneur from Sierra Leone is trying to do business in Nigeria? How can the system in Nigeria be able to ascertain that that's a quality and authentic business, right? There are so many things you need to check. At the minute we do that, but the minister will tell you that we do it manually because whenever there's a Nigerian business going to do something in Sierra Leone, she'll text me and say, do you know this company? And I'll respond. But I think we have a fantastic DPI use case in that. And when they came to me, they were talking about a common ID system. And I think I quickly cautioned against that because there's still the sovereignty side. Nations want to maintain their own ID databases. But I think we have a unique opportunity to apply strong data exchange system interoperability, whereby there's a system that can help confirm that that person is truly registered on the other side. And perhaps we can make it seamless. As you know, the AFCFTA is the single largest common trading bloc in the world. 1.4 billion people within that area. I personally believe it's the biggest gift that the leaders have given Africa, but we're now in the process of actualizing it, making it happen. And I think a digital identity system that can go with you wherever you're going on the African continent will be a fantastic example. So if there's anyone in the room who's close to those at the AFCFTA headquarters, please let's all gather together and support, because I think this can be a truly strong example of a cross-border DPI, DPG perhaps, for the African continent. Thank you.
I'll follow up on that last thing you said, Minister, about DPG later. And if there's anyone in the room, so afterwards you will find Minister Tijani then and talk more about this opportunity. Minister Lawson, let's hear from Togo.
Good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today. In terms of regional cooperation, I wanted to give an example, the digital ID system that we are rolling out and that we hope to complete the rollout by the end of this year. So we've initiated conversations with our neighbors, namely Benin, to have interoperability of our ID systems, but also Burkina Faso and other countries such as Senegal, because we're using a MOSIP platform. So what we do is that we host meetings of countries that are interested in the platform so that they could see how we operating it and so on. And also we agreed to adopting the same standards and so on. And I think it's extremely important because our ID system, using the MOSIP platform, is really the ID that the majority of the Togolese will have, because first of all, it's free. It doesn't require to show a proof of citizenship and so on. So that's the ID card of the poorest of the Togolese. And there's a lot of relationship and cross-border transactions and people living in one country, for example, in Togo, going to school in Benin and back and forth. And usually these guys, when they cross the border, they cross by foot and nobody asks them for any form of IDs, because we know that, they have families in either side of the border. So having an interoperable ID system would enable these individuals to, for example, go to hospitals in one country and so on and so forth, and maybe at some point benefit from social protection in both places. So I think that beyond regional integration, it's a very concrete way to support these populations. Again, who are the poorest of the Togolese, the poorest people in Benin or Burkina Faso are going to be the key users of this ID system and this DPI. So,
no, thank you, Minister Losner, for reminding us of the inclusion aspect. And I actually think I'll pose the next follow-up question directly to you. Because you mentioned MOSIP, and I've heard all three of you actually in various settings give very inspirational speeches. And I think also Minister Ba, you mentioned, this idea of something being done to you versus something that you are driving. And so I've also heard you, Minister Tijani, also touch upon this idea of, remembering the agency and the potential, for instance, of Nigeria's youth. And there's a common denominator. And this idea of going from being users to being creators and those that are actually, building own technologies. So then, as the CEO of the Digital Public Goods Alliance, I'm very interested in hearing your perspectives on the role that digital public goods and open source technologies can play in enabling your countries to be more creators and sharers of technologies.
Yes, Liv, you said it, and it makes sense, right? That in life, you would rather help someone than being helped. I would assume you want to be in the position to be doing things. And one thing that the continent is really passionate about at this point is that we want to be solving our own issues. And one of the ways that we do that is by, for example, adopting open source platforms so that we can buy part of the solution, build on top of it, have the freedom to do so. For example, and that's why it was so important, for example, for the ID system, which is a foundational, platform. It was very important for us to be able to use open source so that our developers would add whatever functionalities or whatever they wanted. And I think it's a really different and new mindset. And I think that talking with Minister Bosoum, Minister Salima, it's really that our youth, this is what we want. This is the Africa that we want and that we're building according to this rule that we need to be in charge of solving our issues.
No, thank you, Minister Lawson. And Minister Ba, you mentioned also the DPG pipeline. And I always also love to tell, the story about OpenG2P and the origination there. But what are your perspectives on this topic? I know you have many, many thoughts about it.
No, absolutely. I really think specifically what Minister Lawson said about Africa being at this stage focusing on how do we build solutions by us and for us. Because I think we understand that if we look at people building solutions for the communities in which they live, we always believe that that's where you find the most impact because they understand what the issues are, they understand what the problems are, and we believe that we're building for us, and we always obviously look to partner. But I think towards the point of maybe where we need to accelerate that is looking at, again, regional collaboration and that how that happens, right? Minister Bosoum talk about data. How can we ensure, as much as we're protecting for sovereignty and we focus on that, but actually maybe we can be a bit more open how we think about our data, and how we think about relevant data that we might need to integrate with Togo, with Nigeria, to ensure that trade can happen, to ensure that movement can happen, to ensure that our entrepreneurs can build to scale and not just building for our countries as well. So I think for us and the focus within, that's why we are focused, the OpenG2P platform that came through the pandemic, and we saw how that solved real-life solutions. But really, the idea behind the DPG pipeline is how can we create this platform that can significantly accelerate the rate in which we build open source solutions, and not just for Sierra Leone. I think for us, that's one of the biggest pushes that we've had. I think Minister Lawson and I've talked a lot of times. Sometimes we find we're building the same solutions at the same time for the same problem. And then sometimes we look at it, it could be a waste of resources. Why are we not sharing a bit more? So I think for us, a lot of it is maybe the next step towards that is how do we really maybe go beyond just talking about the problem and identifying. We've always said this is the problem, even saying this is the solution, but I think it's how do we now move to the action part of things. And I think maybe that's where we would like to see the conversation move towards.
And let's follow that one up also at the Global DPI Summit. Minister Tijani, I want to ask you the same question about the role of digital public goods. And I noticed that, I think I also heard you now mention the word sovereignty, and I heard you also touch upon the word sovereignty. And do you see, how can these concepts go hand in hand?
Yeah, so I think I'll answer the question by giving a caveat. Before taking up the role of a minister, I ran what's probably the largest tech hub in Africa. I used to invest in tech startups. So I'm a big fan of local technology companies. But I think as a public leader, we need to separate the conversation. The first thing first is that you want the best technology solution to deliver services to your people. And I think when we're talking about DPI, we shouldn't be conflicting the desire to have local companies building. There's an advanced way of looking at it, in my opinion, when you think of technology, is that perhaps, and this is why, it's one of the reasons why I like DPI as well. If you truly follow the frameworks of DPI, and those who follow what we're doing in Nigeria, they will see that that's the focus. Put in place a strong digital ID system, ensure you have strong interoperability system, then build a data exchange system. If you can put those three stacks together in any nation, you actually create a platform for many people to innovate within society, for government, but also for the private sector as well. So what you're going to end up seeing there is a nation with a government that is open to innovation. There will be a lot of innovations that has been tested elsewhere that you can adopt in DPG, but you also have a platform that can help local innovators to start to innovate. Also, for someone who is coming from the startup ecosystem, what it takes to build a strong, vibrant startup technology ecosystem is deep. So most countries will not just all of a sudden be in a position to be able to build all their own technological needs. It's impossible. So I think the idea of DPI, we need to ensure that we're separating it. What we want is that countries should have the understanding, the framework that will allow technology help them serve their people. But within that as well, this framework should allow them to be able to identify the best solutions, whether they're local or foreign. No one is asking where internet was invented, but we're all using it. But at the same time, do it in a manner that your local ecosystem can be empowered to build, so that you're not just importing literally everything. So I think there's a fine line between it, and we have to be careful that we're not misusing the concept of sovereignty. I think sovereignty is more about ensuring that you actually know what's being done to you or what you're doing as well. Are you in control? If you're using the technology, do you have a full understanding? Is it trusted infrastructure? Do you know where the data is going? Can you truly control it? Can you protect your people and your society? So I think it's much more deeper than just who is building it.
No, I think, and those are, thank you for those very insightful comments. And I also heard you mention India earlier, and I believe very much that this has been the philosophy also behind the India stack, and the role of having a thriving ecosystem on top. I also know that, and I've heard this from Nandan Nilekani personally, when he told me the story about building Aadhaar, that they leveraged a lot of open source. It wasn't called digital public goods back then. And one of the things that Nandan is saying is that the fact that we now have digital public goods makes it possible for a lot of other countries to reuse faster, but with control. Can you mention a little bit about how you're seeing the role of digital public goods as part of what you're doing now in Nigeria?
I think Nigeria is a fantastic example that we should all pay attention to. We've used loans and grants and support from World Bank, from the EU, and a couple of other organizations to build what's probably the third or second largest digital ID system in the world, which has about 130 million people in that system. It's a system that can be better. Right, but it's there. These people are digitally identified, and Nigeria has probably the best interbank settlement system on the African continent. probably the best. I think people who know that space know banking in a country like Nigeria is way more seamless than even in the US. Like literally, I can pay my gate man from my bank account seated here into his bank account. And before I finish saying these words, he will get the money. Our banks are connected together. So the biggest pain for Nigeria is actually being able to articulate that and ensure there's no distraction as to, do you need to now go adopt a new system because the system is the most popular system that everyone thinks is the best? Or do we build a framework that helps to take everything that we already have and actually turn them into a platform that many, many more people can build on? I think that's still the challenge, and it's because, in my own opinion, the DPI space in itself is still evolving. It's early days, and I think we conflate DPI to DPG sometimes. You know, people take examples of applications and refer to it as DPI, and in the process, we lose the entire framework of thinking about DPI as a framework that is meant to help us innovate and provide better services.
Exactly, so you can reuse certain components to build out DPI, and it's not, I agree, they're sometimes conflated, but I do believe that you are in process of joining the Digital Public Goods Alliance. Is that
We are,
correct?
and we're extremely excited about it because I think we had a session a few days ago. My biggest headache is if you look at the Nigerian government budget, the line item. So the world has been successful in telling government all over the world that technology is the way to go. And what that means is civil servants are just buying technology, even if it means buying one technology 100 times. So you look at the budget, the line items for technology, and this is probably a reality in many countries, not just in Africa. So my thinking has been, how do we ensure that we're not taking these difficult to find resources and just plugging them into things that we can do better, things that other people have built elsewhere that we can leverage. I think that's the excitement for joining the 15.5. And hopefully that we can, if we can then, because we're also in the process of building our data exchange system, we're going to leverage the X-Road, which will mean we have the three important elements of it, that we can now encourage more innovation and people can build faster, leveraging best practices and DPGs from the Alliance.
So leveraging a technology that comes out of Estonia and Finland. It's a very interesting story. And welcome to the Digital Public Goods Alliance
so much.
as well.
Thank you.
I'm now going to round us off. We're a little bit over time, but thank you so much, ministers. And I really, really look forward to following up this conversation also at the Global DPI Summit. And let's, sit down operationally and map out some of how we can actually move them forward into practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now we're going to switch regions, and we are going to hear from a country that is showing global leadership in using DPI to fight climate change, a country that is the host of COP30 in November. Please enjoy this video message from Esther Dweck, Minister of Management and Innovation in Public Services from Brazil.
Brazil has a long trajectory of implementing government tech solutions that are open, interoperable, inclusive, and collaborative. Both in Brazil and internationally, we have been promoting digital public infrastructures as a global strategy for using technology to increase state capacity, to better serve the population, and to promote sustainable development goals. We believe that global challenge requires cooperation and shared solutions. This is why we have joined the Digital Public Goods Alliance. We are proud to be part of the 15.5 initiative, sharing not only our commitment to endeavor, but also our expertise, computer code, and policy experience with other countries. From a DPI perspective, Brazil has successfully implemented PIX, our online payment system, and Gov.br, our digital identification platform that is connected to the national ID card and enables over 160 million people to easily access 4,500 public services. We have also been promoting DPI and DPGs for climate action. Our Rural Environment Registry, for example, allows us to map and to provide information on protected areas within public and private lands. Our commitment to implementing the climate solution as a DPI includes sharing several of its components as digital public good so that other countries can adapt them and develop similar strategy for pursuing their own climate action goals. In the context of our COP30 presidency, we have invited other countries to contribute to this effort of promoting and providing digital public infrastructure and digital public goods to support climate action on the global scale. We believe that open technology and global digital governance may contribute not only to better governments, but also to stronger democracies and enhanced sovereignty. It's my hope that we can all work together to promote inclusive, sovereign, and sustainable development powered by open technology strategies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aura Cifuentes. I'm the director for Latin American and the Caribbean at Co-Develop, and I'm delighted to moderate this panel on Latin American and the Caribbean. So please join me in welcoming our distinguished guests to the stage. First, we have Dominique Alexander Smith, Minister of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence from Trinidad and Tobago. Next, Armando José Mansueta, Deputy Minister of Technology and Innovation of the Dominican Republic. And finally, Martín Clavijo, Executive Director of the Agency for International Development of Uruguay.
Okay, we have 14 minutes, and it's Onga, hectic week. Martin might need to leave, so I'm going to start with you. But I just wanted to say, based on what we saw from the Minister Dweck, it's great to see countries in LAC that are not only part of the 15.5 campaign, but also that they are joining DPGA, because there are like so many countries building DPGs that it's great, and I'm super proud to see that. So I just wanted to flag that, and that's the case of Uruguay. Uruguay is part of 15.5 and it's part of DPGA. So Martin, I was telling you before the panel that I'm always surprised to see Uruguay promoting sustainable digital policies. I'm from Colombia, so I've been seeing this for the last 15, 20 years. AGESIC is such a reference point for the region. And to give the audience some context, Uruguay was the pioneer. They started the pilot of cross-border digital ID in the region, and there are currently 12 countries committed to enhance that regional cooperation. So I would love to ask you, what are like those factors that enable that shift of mindset of Uruguay? Why are you believing in that DPI approach right now?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to government of Uruguay to take part in this important event. I apologize for my English, but I will do my best to make myself understand. It's a pleasure to share this panel with my colleagues. Uruguay has maintained significant continuity in digital public policies through the implementation of 5 consecutive digital agendas. Each has been designed and coordinated with the public sector, academia, private industry, and civil society participation. Additionally, different plans and strategies emerge from each agenda, such as open data, artificial intelligence, civil security, and digital government. Under these public policies, different lines of action were designed and implemented, many of them directly linked to what are now and digital public infrastructure. In terms of data interoperability, the state interoperability platform stands out as the means of interoperability for general data. But some are specific to critical sectors, such as the National Electronic Health Record or the National Livestock Information System. In 2015, Uruguay issued the first identity card with a chip capable of digital signature and identification. Today, more than 90% of adults have one. The digital ID platform, called ID Uruguay, integrates more than 190 organizations, 1,500 online procedures, and 4 ID providers, include chip-based ID cards. This initiative sustainability and facilitate the management of digital IDs, providing much greater security for all parties. Today, more than 100,000 IDs are issued daily. Gov.br uses a similar model, so it was simple to integrate ID Uruguay and Gov.br so that Brazilians can access Uruguayan digital service using their trusted Brazilian IDs. This makes it much easier, safer, and more natural, just like we use our physical IDs. This experience allowed to design a model, development an ID Uruguay to be implemented in each country, generating an ecosystem of national digital IDs, but also a standardized regional platform so that everyone can use their trusted national digital IDs throughout the region. We are currently developing this model, and then countries are preparing to do so is parallel. We hope to have several countries integrated by 2026, are achieving impact in critical sectors such as foreign trade, tourism, migration, health, education, and tax administration. These actions based on digital transformation and cooperation are possible to accomplish as a result of the sustained public policy throughout the years and the different governments. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And if you need to leave, we totally understand. Thank you so much for joining us. And 2 things. One, it's incredible to see what you just mentioned, 5 agendas that have been connecting and governments building on top of what the previous government administration did. That's truly amazing. And second, the pilot that I was mentioning that Uruguay promoted among Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, 12 countries are part of this new phase of the project, and one of our goals is to showcase those new integrations next month in the LAC Regional Summit of Red Hat before our Global DPI Summit, so really looking forward to see those integrations. Minister Smith, I like your title a lot.
Thank you.
It's great to see how a ministry is bringing together artificial intelligence and public administration. So I just wanted to ask you, because it seems that Trinidad and Tobago is really committed to the digital transformation agenda in general. I was telling you before the panel that I've heard many things happening in TNT all the time. So I would love to ask you, how does the DPI agenda fit into what the ministry is doing right now? And if you could share it with all of us, initiatives, projects that you're currently prioritizing.
Thank you so much for that long question. But 2 questions in one. But I want to say thank you, first of all, for allowing us to be a part of the 50 and 5. We feel very honored and privileged to be here in New York for the 80th UNG as well. I think all of this is really crescendoing nicely for Trinidad and Tobago. We just had an election that allowed for a ministry that's quite unique, as you mentioned, the Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence. And for your information, that is the first ministry in the Caribbean with such a minister. So it's indeed a privilege for me to be here and to discuss with you the progress that Trinidad and Tobago is making. And if I would dare say, the Caribbean as well, because we are small island developing states, and because we have a history of vulnerability, I think that is really why we want to, as much as possible, use digital technology and use digital public infrastructure as a means for diversifying our economies away from traditional resources. In Trinidad in particular, we are an oil and gas-based economy, and we really see ICT and digital transformation as a means for us to escape or progress other avenues for growth and development for our country. And I think stemming from our government's manifesto and our mandate, we have taken the approach of being citizen-centric and people-driven. And I think that is the genesis of how we have integrated now the public goods, delivery of public goods, and traditionally digital transformation, and now with the accelerator that we all know of, artificial intelligence. But what really inspires AI? AI has to be built on a platform, on a layer, and DPI is really part of that process. When I think about DPI for Trinidad and for the Caribbean, and for small island developing states, I think about one, is it sustainable? Because as a country, we need to be as sustainable as possible. Is it inclusive? Who is involved in this process, this technological process? Are we speaking to the more developed communities, or are we including everyone in the transformation through the use of technology? And again, the third piece is it scalable? So for us, when we think about DPI, when we think about the merging of public service and public goods, and with the digital transformation agenda, it amplifies through DPI the artificial intelligence components, which has so much potential, but without a foundation, you really can't accelerate the potential that is intrinsic in the process. And you mentioned as well, what are some of the projects? I think Trinidad has made a lot of inroads in terms of projects, but one I want to touch on, again, it speaks to the citizen-centric focus, which is our social benefits wallet. And tied into the vulnerability piece, we've had issues, because we're in the hurricane belt, as an example. We have the acceleration and the flooding issues that may happen across the Caribbean, but specifically in SIDS. And so we've utilized the technology to say, okay, how can we use the concepts of interoperability? How can we use the concepts of digital wallets? How can we use concepts of as you said, data sovereignty and the transferring of information, and utilizing the DPI infrastructure to treat with real issues on the ground with the people that need it most. So the social benefits wallet was one initiative that we have spearheaded and that we continue to develop, where we can identify using e-identity citizens that have a need, and they can use that technology now to access public goods and in situations of crisis. So that's one area that we're very proud of. The next thing I'd like to speak about, if you permit me, is we are very focused on listening first and not recreating the wheel. And so colleagues have mentioned as well, ADHA, they've mentioned X-Roads from Estonia. And so for us, it's important that we take the best-in-case examples, the blueprints that have already been provided by UAE and India was mentioned, Singapore, even Estonia, and then we turn it and take a cultural perspective, and we consider what are the cultural nuances of the technology locally. So in the future and in the coming months of this ministry's initiation, we plan on rolling out something that is similar. I would tell you now that this is the first time we're speaking about this, And we're fortunate to do it now in 50 and 5, where Trinidad plans on rolling out the MyTT app, which is essentially an application that all citizens will be able to benefit from. And we're going to be able to provide services across what we call MDAs. So there's mention of healthcare. That's something that can be provided using the app. Roadworks and infrastructure development, that's also something that can be accessed using that app. Social benefits, for displaced and vulnerable persons, and then things, as little as, administrative pieces where you're speaking about identity and passports and ID cards and so on. So we're very excited, as you could tell, about the prospect of the future. We're very excited to be here in New York and to participate in the 50 and 5. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but Trinidad has actually just joined the 50 and 5. And so, thank you. We're very, very proud of that, and we look forward to hearing from all the participants. I'm sure there will be valuable information, and in the spirit of cooperation, I'm sure that all of us can enjoy in discussing what is the way forward, and many more conferences like this type. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. I love to see more countries from LAC joining 15.5 and Leaf knows that. So I'm super excited about that official announcement. And one insight that I really liked is how you framed it. Sustainable, inclusive, and scalable. I really like that. And we should keep an eye on that social benefits wallet. I love when we have like DPI lens with a very particular use case, very particular problem. So yeah, we should keep an eye on that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Armando, last but not least, I feel that I see you in every DPI event these days, right? And I love that. And it's great news because Dominican Republic is becoming a solid, robust example reference in the region. So you should be proud, feel very proud of that. And that's why I think that you're like in the best position to answer this question. If any country in LAC asks about your experience as part of 15.5, what would you share with them? What would you recommend they do? Or what would you highlight from your own journey so far? Because there are so many things happening in DR right now with different lens, tech, safeguards, interoperability, Soyjo, the digital wallet. So what would you say?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight here. It is a pleasure always to share with this little, well, not so little community that is growing every day. So happy that Trinidad and Tobago is joining this particular community of not just policymakers, but also doers and tech nerds that are obsessed with technology for the public good. And for us, it is a great pleasure to be part of this conversation. Well, 15.5 is a very interesting campaign because it's not just something that is there to create just awareness about a specific agenda or technology as a whole, but rather it has the potential to become this sort of community of practice where everyone that is starting in its DPI journey can actually start gathering resources, knowing people, and of course, finding their own way, their own path towards implementation of a future-proof, DPI-based open digital society. So in that regard, this campaign is it's something very beautiful, and I think everyone that has the opportunity to lead a digital transformation journey in their own country should definitely look not just the campaign, but also the amazing work that the Digital Public Goods Alliance has been doing, the work that UNDP has been doing, and all the partners that are here, one or another, that are part of the DPI conversation at large. That's one thing. The second thing I want to also highlight is that there's many things that there's many ways you can frame on what we can do or what we cannot do when it comes to this. But I think the most important things that we can learn is not just the successes or the things that we're doing, but rather the failures. It's something not often talked about, but I think it's important for us to start learning about not the things that didn't go well, not just in our own journeys, but also on how what other countries have done in the past that they go in the right direction or that they yielded the results that they wanted to, just to learn from that, to see what not to do, which is as important as learning what has gone right. And like as you said, in our journey, well, we're doing a lot of things, just to put it simply. Like you mentioned, in less than 4 years, we just released, first, we started with our own data exchange platform, which is based on the X-Road platform that Estonia has set up. And actually, they helped us to navigate the whole process of setting up X-Road and to start connecting institutions. And it's something that we're very deeply grateful for that. And after that, we're expanding the use of the platform for many use cases. And alongside the platform, we also devised this data governance and data exchange framework that goes a little bit beyond of what the traditional interoperability currently is. Because we are addressing the core issues when it comes for data governance, data classification, and using a value chain logic to the data management as a whole. So we can start defining proper policies for each part of the conversation when it comes for data, especially when it comes to data collection, data quality, and of course, data protection for the personal information that we as government are actually handling day by day, and it's important to have these rules in place. Not just that, like you said, like you mentioned, we started this also the digital identity journey, beginning with our own authentication system that is called Cuenta Única, which is tied to the Carpeta Ciudadana, but also to our gov.do government services portal. And of course, we released our own version of the digital wallet system that everyone is trying to implement, which is called Carpeta Ciudadana, which is now going a major technical review and redevelopment thanks to the support of Co-Develop and IDV and CDPI, that through our digital agency is helping us to not just have this new improved version, but also implement properly verified credentials for the whole administration. Alongside that, we're working very closely with both the ADB and the World Banks into creating this three-tier digital transformation journey that we're organizing in the DR, beginning with the civil service, which is like as important as the public sector part. Moving to the core government services that have been provided from government to government, just to tie everything together from government HR to digital public finance to internal control and everything that is in between, just to align processes with the planning, with the purchases and everything together. So we can provide actually better public services to the population, which is the third level that we're working very closely with the World Bank at this moment. And we're doing that in a very DPI-focused way, to put it that simply. So the whole idea with that is that we're going to start developing new DPI components, such as DPI component for notifications, messaging, the massification of verified credentials, and of course, AI DPIs as well for agentic the digital services provision for the population. And the whole idea with this is to put DPI not just at the center of our own digital transformation, but at the center of the development of the country itself. And of course, just to put when it comes to regulation as well, we're implementing the DPI safeguards as well. Actually, we are codifying them in something similar to a law, while the law actually comes. It's actually an executive order that is actually being drafted as we speak. I think it will be released in the coming weeks. And of course, that will give us just the right path to have DPIs implemented in a way that doesn't exclude anyone, that counts with the right securities, the security measures, and of course the privacy measures that are needed for that. And finally, just to give a single remark, we in the Dominican Republic are more than committed not just to hearing from others, but also to talking about what we're doing, to sharing what we've done, and of course, having this sort of community practice, not just in the DR, but also in the whole region and in the world, so we can keep moving things forward.
Thank you, Armando. And I know many of the teams that are like currently working on those initiatives in Dominican Republic, and I can tell you that they are like Armando. very agile, very proactive, very passionate about DPI, so congrats. We're just about time, so please join me in giving a big round of applause. And as you can see, the momentum around DPI in LAC is there, and it's growing, and I'm really looking forward to share so many initiatives that not only the LAC champions, Brazil, DR, TNT, Uruguay are doing, but many others. So thank you so much for this panel.
Thank you.
And just before we close, I have the honor of introducing a message from Mikhailo Fedorov, First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Let's hear directly from him.
Greetings to the participants of 50 and 5 from Kyiv. Thank you for inviting Ukraine to this event. This September marks 6 years since we began implementing President Volodymyr Zelensky's vision of a state in a smartphone. At that time, he set out a clear goal for Ukraine's digital transformation. For every citizen, government should be simple, convenient, nearly invisible, and accessible in just a few clicks. All certificates and services are just online, on a smartphone. We started as a startup ministry, and thanks to our donors and partners, we were able to create DIA, a web portal and mobile app that provides access to government services. Today, 23 million people use the DIA app. It offers 33 documents, more than 65 services, and over 150 additional services on the DIA portal. In 2024, Time magazine named online marriage one of the best inventions of the year. Recently, we also launched the world's first national AI agent providing government services. As a result, Ukraine rose to 5th place out of 102 countries in digital public services, according to the Online Services Index in the United Nations E-Government Development Index. Back in 2018, we ranked 102nd, 97 places higher in just 6 years. Since the launch of DIA in 2020, Ukrainians and the state have saved 184 billion hryvnias, about $4.5 billion today. This is the combined anti-corruption and economic effect of digitalizing services. For us, it's powerful proof of DIA's efficiency and the real impact of building a digital state. Digital cooperation through initiatives like 50 and 5 is important for Ukraine because it strengthens our brand as a digital nation. Working with other countries allows us to share our experience in building a digital ecosystem, creating and developing DIA, re-engineering services, and learning from colleagues and partners in digital transformation and open source technology. We are grateful to our donors and partners for their support and for helping us build an innovative Ukraine, even in wartime.
We are losing no time here. We're a little bit behind schedule, but it's also extremely fascinating, I will say, to see these experiences and stories and examples coming from different parts of the world. And now we are moving to East Africa, and I have the great pleasure and honor of having with me Veronica Nduva, who is the Secretary General of the East African Community. And I will dive straight into it and not waste any time. And I want to ask you about DPI cooperation in motion in East Africa. What's happening?
Well, at least not online marriages yet. Well, that sounds really fascinating. But yes, we do have e-citizen in Kenya, which is one of the countries where you book your marriage with the registrar online. It's one of the platforms we talk about. But no, thank you so much for having us and great conversations here. And just listening to the previous conversations makes me realize that the East African community has made such huge strides, because we are a community of eight partner states, 300 million plus citizens, combined GDP of 320 billion, annual growth rate 5%. So lots of promise. But what has made us unique is our first two pillars of integrations is common market and customs union, and that means everything we are doing is relating towards our economic integration. And we have a lot of commitments that we have made. So I'll just go through some of the issues that we have done in the interest of time. I think we are really proud of our regional digital leaders forum. We are now right now on the third one, having going to take place at the end of this month. And this is where we bring different practitioners, both from private sector, the public sector, to just engage. It's a shared platform for roadmap, bankable, cross-border use cases, and this is part of the forum that gave birth to our collaborative initiative to be part of the 50 in 5. And so 8 for the price of 1 is our contribution.
Welcome.
To 50 in 5, yes. And directly we do have Uganda, Somalia, and South Sudan also being part of the 15-1, and we'll look forward to more than that. In terms of our regional data governance policy framework, we've started to harmonize our laws to look at the privacy, the security, cross-border data flows, and this alignment has helped us with aligning with national data protection laws, and there's lots of conversations. And I said earlier in another forum that for me the gap in this is there is need for us to align more the legal minds, because there's a lot that is coming out of data and digital cooperation across. Then also payments, interoperability. We've moved from design, now we are at proofs of concept. So in December last year, we completed our proof of concept, interlinking our national payment switches to enable instant cross-border transfers, which is very essential for our micro, small, and medium enterprises, which make a big part of our number, and sustaining our e-commerce. So 2 examples I want to give, some of our examples on how we've offered our DPGs. So real-time payments, financial inclusion. So Rwanda has a national digital payment system, eCash, which is integrated into Moja Loop using open source. Bank of Tanzania is using the Tanzania Integrated Payment System. About 490 million transactions in 2024 alone. That's evidence of DPI at national scale. We are using it for health information system. The digital health information system 2 is used across EAC Health in Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. And we are also using this for surveillance, cross-border health, pandemic control, and prevention. Our mobile money. I was hoping the Minister for Nigeria would be here, and we can give them a run for their money when it comes to more. M-Pesa is global, you know. M-Pesa, everybody knows about M-Pesa, and this is really a foundation for our cross-border digital payment system, lower transaction costs, and truly, yes, the question is how do people at the border trade? And we've moved in a big way because we have our master plan for payments that is already adopted, and now we are at the point of implementation, and we are working with several partners around that, and our central banks are talking to each other and asking themselves what next. Our ideas are already in use, so we are not at the idea stage. This is a reality for us because, for instance, in Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, our ID basically is a trusted foundation for offering government services, enabling access to public services, financial inclusion, cross-border, you just cross with your ID. And that's also the same with our single tourist visa, you know, where you can use one visa and one platform. We also have land-linked countries, meaning that not, well, landlocked, you would say. We call them land-linked. So the access to the port, there's electronic cargo tracking. Again, this is really a real time. You can see where the trucks are, how long they are taking. It has reduced movement, say, from Rwanda to Mombasa from 21 days to 4 days. And basically because everyone is held accountable. And lastly, we have the establishment of the East African Community AI Alliance. We made sure that we announced this, I think, in the AI Summit, and we have already started working with the ITU on building capacity and training. So I think for us, we've made a lot of progress. We've been able to address the balance, the tricky balance between regional benefit and national interest, and working together, learning together, and experimenting together. So there's lots of lessons to learn from the REC, and I guess it's just to watch the space and see how we can make it even better. So thank you so much.
I have never heard so much substance in 8 minutes, I will say. And I also, let's have a round of applause. And also, I think we have a battle going now between East Africa and West Africa. And I will remind Minister Tijani next time I see him, and also Lawson and Salimaba. So let's continue to have that positive battle going on. And thank you so much, Secretary General. So that was super inspirational. I'm going to move over to an event segment hosted by someone who is equally super inspirational, and that is the eminent Sanjay Purohit, who is going to moderate the segment on the Safeguards Initiative. And I think I will just call you up on stage, Sanjay. The stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone, and it's a privilege to moderate what promises to be an amazing session, but there have been many acts which are very hard to follow. Today, we would like to spend a bit of time, and by the way, I have had a 20% cut in my time budget, so we're going to be very swift about it, before I get a 30% cut, given that the world is currently in the midst of various kinds of cuts. Safeguards are the heartbeat of DPI, ensuring that digital transformation empowers rather than excludes. Far from being a compliance checkbox, they foster trust amongst users, farmers, citizens, and businesses. They fuel operational efficiency through interoperable systems and spark innovation by inviting diverse stakeholders to co-create solutions. Safeguards are not reactive burden, but a proactive driver essential for DPI to deliver on its promise of equitable prosperity. All of you who have been looking through the DPI safeguards are reminded that they are all based on a set of very important principles. Safeguards lead to inclusion. Safeguards are the foundation of equitable access, breaking down barriers like language, literacy, and socioeconomic. As long as I get to move this. Can we get this thing moving? Somehow this is not moving. So safeguards are the foundation of equitable access, breaking down barriers like language, literacy, and socioeconomic status to ensure marginalized groups, rural farmers, indigenous communities, and women are fully included in DPI benefits. Safeguards drive adoption. Trust is the gateway to DPI uptake By addressing data privacy, accessibility, and user needs, safeguards turn skeptics into active users, boosting engagement across rural and urban divides. Safeguards fuel innovation. This is very important because they drive inclusive design and multi-stakeholder collaboration, unlock creative solutions, transforming DPI into a living ecosystem that adapts to local context and global challenges. Safeguards enhance efficiency, seamless interoperability, and transparent processes streamline operations, reducing costs and administrative friction for governments, providers, and citizens. And lastly, and very importantly, safeguards are non-negotiable. Embedded from the start, they ensure DPI's long-term viability, preventing exclusion and building resilient, scalable systems of the future. We heard Minister Esther Dweck talk about Brazil's leadership in the work that they are doing around multiple different DPI initiatives, but I wanted to take a minute to highlight some of their amazing work around the safeguards area. There we go. Brazil's Cadastro Ambiental Rural, CAR, I'm still polishing my Portuguese, by the way, is a global pioneer in digital public infrastructure, registering over 7.6 million rural properties to enforce the forest code. The digital platform drives environment monitoring, deforestation prevention, and climate commitments, transforming into people-centric digital public good. CAR is embedding robust safeguards, data protection, accessibility, and transparency to empower rural and indigenous communities. Imagine a para farmer securing land ownership with verifiable credentials, or a Mato Grosso smallholder registering via multilingual community kiosk. These innovations, supported by UNDP's Digital AI and Innovation Hub and Brazil's Forest Service, tackle governance complexities and digital literacy gaps across 26 states and 1 federal district. By linking CAR to gov.br and with future plans to launch verifiable credentials for credit access across Brazil, Brazil is progressing on building trust, inclusion, and scalability, inspiring global DPI models for climate change. Let us now move to have a live discussion on South Africa's commitment to the safeguards. South Africa's Maimazansi initiative is the government's flagship project to build this national DPI. Announced in May 2025 with a pilot launch in November 2025 and another set of launches from February to July 2026, Maimazansi provides citizens with a single digital point of entry for all government services, from social grants to healthcare appointments and business registrations. The platform embodies the government's one person, one government, one touch philosophy, ensuring citizens interact with a unified service regardless of department. South Africa is building Maimazansi with safeguards at the heart of their digital platforms. To tell us more about this, it is my pleasure and privilege to invite Mr. Melvin Lubega, Head of Digital Services Unit in the Presidency, to deliver his remarks. Mr. Melvin.
So first of all, thank you very much, Sanjay. The way you pronounced Maimazansi, you definitely have a strong South African accent. So Portuguese or South African, you can definitely come back with us in your pronunciation on that. But thank you very much. And to everyone here, Excellencies, distinguished guests, it's really a privilege to be here as a South African, particularly at this point in time. And thank you to the organizers, to the UNDP, to the Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies, and obviously the partners, DPGA and 15.5. You know, Liv, when you began with your remarks at the outset, you mentioned that you would give the count of the member countries at the end. And I wasn't so sure if you were expecting attrition or addition to the number of countries through the actual occasion. And so I'm proud, leading our digital work in terms of DPIs in South Africa, to reaffirm our commitment to using DPIs to achieve our objective. Sanjay, as you mentioned, one person, one government, one touch. And it's a big part of what we see as a nation in unlocking our true potential for development, as stated by our president. Prior to joining the public service, I was a technology builder and investor, and so DPI has a very different meaning in the investing world. But coming into the world of digital public infrastructure, it's been very clear on its role in actually unlocking economic development. I think not only at a country level, but at a continental level. I know there was some beef between East and West Africa. I think we can all be Africans in this conversation right now. But for us, it's really been a point of thinking, how do we as a country actually build those public rails that enable that private sector innovation as a country, make it a whole of government initiative? I think when you think about South Africa's experience, as Sanjay mentioned, we have a very robust roadmap, but in implementing that roadmap, what we're seeing is demonstrating how, one, you can build at scale, rapidly, safely, inclusively, and really think about how you do it with resilience. And that's really been front of mind in how we think through both DPI, but more importantly, safe DPI in the South African context, particularly given our narrative and history as a country of inequality and the background where we come from in terms of apartheid. And so when we think about a moment like this, it's important to not forget the importance of safeguards. I think we had a conversation earlier today thinking through exactly what do safeguards mean, because it's one thing to commit, but what does it actually mean practically for you to implement it? And so for us, we're very intentional in the design of our roadmap to say, like, look, how do we think about not only the architectural layer of payments, of identity, of an exchange, but almost think of the safeguards, the link between the infrastructure, but also the services and outcomes, where you bring in the privacy, the security, the inclusiveness, and really taking that a deeper thought beyond just delivering on technology, because technology is fairly easy at some level to actually execute on. But I think more importantly, when you think about the current context between Africa and emerging markets, where ODA is limited, every rand, dollar, shilling has to be intentionally spent towards having significant outcomes. And really for us, DPI has been that almost accelerant that enables us to have that impact, particularly as a nation where we have great needs. And I mean, it's always great to hear from other colleagues where, I think it was Brazil, where there were 4,500 services available. I was thinking, how many services does the government actually have? And that number comes to fruition. But I think what was really encouraging from the earlier conversations is the importance of collaboration. Because, hearing the colleagues from LAC and just the different integrations across the 12 countries that exist, I mean, I know Africa will get there, but I think it's a big step for us to think through, how can we do more together? I think, Mr. Jani mentioned about, the free trade agreement across Africa, and how to use DPI as a part of that conversation versus an afterthought to actually unlock that trade across the country and across the continent, which is actually a very large opportunity for us to develop ourselves as an ecosystem, more importantly. But also in the same vein, I think a moment like this and coming together, it's not only about necessarily making commitment to, let's say, our peers in the room. I think for us, South Africa, it's coming to our people. To say that when we build with intention, thinking about inclusivity, thinking about safety, and I think I like the approach by the Dominican minister, I think it was Minister Smith, around being user-centric. Because ultimately we see as a tool to deliver on our commitment to our citizens to enable that particular growth. And so we're very humbled to both be part of this community, and thank you for the warm welcome. We look forward to welcoming you to South Africa for the Global DPI Summit in November. Shameless plug. And really to continue to learn from each other. And so our commitment is to continue to share our learnings so we can learn together and ultimately grow together. So thank you much for this opportunity and this privilege.
Thank you so much, Mr. Melvin Lubega. It was just amazing. His energy obviously is infectious. But let's also quickly touch upon a few more global possibilities that are emerging. Rwanda. In Rwanda, digital ID and e-cash payments are opening new pathways for every farmer, student, and person across the country. From foundational DPI to use cases, and I want to double stress on the word use cases. Use cases in agriculture and credit markets are ongoing work in adopting safeguards. Focus has been on translating law into practices across DPI lifecycle, designing for strong data governance, and embracing a whole-of-society approach. Nigeria, and we heard some conversations coming in today, and those of you who were there today morning in the earlier sessions would have heard more details, but with an over 230 million population, Nigeria wants to ensure that everyone has a national identification number. They call it NIN. 95% of them by the end of 2025. It is a tall task, but one which leans on universal safeguards to drive trust and inclusion. To make the enrollment process more accessible and inclusive, the government has decentralized from the federal to the ward level. This ensures that a greater portion of the population, including those in remote areas, can be registered. Nigeria is also partnering with UNICEF to harmonize its registration at birth. Nigeria's DPI is built on trust, user-centric data management system, all trust-based. This gives users control over their own data, allowing them to share it with enterprises and other services as they choose. The system, supported by the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, uses a new application that provides clean authentication, ensuring users can securely authenticate their identity. I hope throughout all these countries' narratives, you are able to see many of the principles of the DPI safeguards coming to life. And that is what the entire endeavor has been. Fostering a safe and inclusive digital public infrastructure is a continuous ecosystem-wide process. Importantly, this includes ensuring ongoing oversight and renewal beyond the initial adoption of safeguards. It has been absolutely an amazing experience for many of us in this entire journey to learn from and grow with this process. But this is the impetus driving the integration of the 50 in 5 campaign and the DPI Safeguards initiative. This is a great time and a moment for both of these to come together, which are joining forces this week to activate the DPI Safeguards Accelerator and DPI Learning Exchange as two critical programs to help countries advance their DPI journeys. Please join me in welcoming on stage the stewards of this effort. Let me call on stage Robert Opp, Chief Digital Officer at UNDP, Kezom Goduk, Head of Digital and AI Programs at UNDP. Please join us here. Liv, Secretariat CEO, Digital Public Goods Alliance. And Quentin Shaw-Lambert, Senior Program Management Officer at the UN Office of Digital and Emerging Technologies. The integration of DPI safeguards in the 50 in 5 campaign is a message and a call to action to the wider DPI ecosystem, and a renewed commitment by 50 in 5 participating countries that safeguards are non-negotiable and must be embedded from day one as a proactive driver essential for DPI to deliver on its promise of equitable prosperity. I have learned over this year and a half now that if it is not safe and inclusive, it is not DPI. Please give them a big hand. Thank you so much, and let me hand it back to Liv.
We are nearing the end, but we have two very, very important announcements left. I would like to call on stage now Henri Verdier, the Ambassador for Digital Affairs of France, and Che Sereyvat, Secretary General of the Digital Government Committee of Cambodia. And I will ask you to keep your remarks very short, because there is a reception afterwards where we can also continue these conversations. But last year, you both announced that your countries joined 50 in 5. And now I have you on stage to make 2 additional announcements. And I'm not going to say them, but I'm going to give a teaser. So Henri, if I can start with you, can you say something about what role digital public goods is playing in scaling safe and inclusive and interoperable digital public infrastructure in Europe?
So, but do I make an announcement or not?
It's up to you.
I'm not sure this will be the biggest announcement of France today. I'm not sure. But yes, we did manage to build, to make what we said, and we are happy to say that we are joining the partnership tonight. And why? In a nutshell, very briefly, if you are interested by internet, you probably have read somewhere that this is something that was invented by the DARPA or the American army, or maybe you think that, or you read that this is about big tech companies, and that's a mistake or a lie. All the story of internet is a story of open standards, open source software, public good, and now DPI. And those big companies that are so important today, they did just see this opportunity. They did see a brilliant infrastructure, and they did take their chance. So we like them, they do innovate, they do propose some new services, but we don't want them to try to take control of our future, of our data, of our dignity, and we want to be sure that there will be room for more innovation after them and for more companies. And that's why it's time to stand firmly for the digital commons, the digital public goods, etc. I see the time. This is not just an assumption. France has a strong policy regarding this. You have heard about the AI Action Summit in February. The main announcement of the summit was a foundation, Current AI, to finance open source AI, open source data sets, commons, etc. We do this at every level of our ministries. You do recognize some of our projects like the DPI, and we like it. Maybe to conclude briefly, my president says very often that between big tech and big state, there is a third way. I told him respectfully very often, but he doesn't listen to me. This is not the third way, President, this is the first way. This is how things did happen. If Europe was so strong and prosper, that's because during more than 1 century, we did build roads and train and water network, and so the physical infrastructure of a country. And today, if we want to develop humankind at every level, we need to build the new infrastructure, which is a digital infrastructure. And for this, I conclude and finish with this, we need partnership, we need cooperation, we need a brilliant exchange of experience and lessons learned, and that's why we joined the movement, and we intend to share and to learn. Thank you.
Welcome to France, to the Digital Public Goods Alliance. And Secretary General Che. What about Cambodia?
First, thank you very much for having me here. And the question, what about Cambodia? So Cambodia did the announcement, joined 15 last year. And this year make very good progress as well. So at the time that we joined 15 so we did develop one DPI, trusted DPI, verify.gov, that allow you to use the document in a digital mode and the physical mode legally, equally, and cross the border. And this DPI, we have to deploy in Laos and Philippines. And this year, we got a request from Timor-Leste, and both governments agree, and we are going to deploy in Timor-Leste as well. So what does it mean? It means that once a document is published on the platform verify.gov, then 3 countries can legally use it without having to put another step. And now we are in a discussion with Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, they said if the document that's studied by their independent expert is true, they are going to join the game as well. But I did a review already. I see every single thing that they talk about verify.gov is completely true, but I did not do reply him officially yet. But after we reply him officially, Bangladesh will be joining the game as well. That's not the news.
That's great. And Bangladesh is already a member of the DPGA, but welcome to Cambodia. And I'm so impressed by the support that Cambodia is providing to other countries, including Timor-Leste and Laos. That is a fantastic example of sharing. with that, thank you so much for these announcements. And let's have a great round of applause for the 2 newest DPJ members.
Save time.
So it strikes me that we need a whole day to do 15.5 milestone celebrations now, because we are expanding this community, and the DPGA community is also expanding, and digital cooperation is expanding so much. I had written a substantial closing, and I'm actually not going to provide it. I think maybe I'll write a blog, or we will write a blog, based on all of the quotes and all of the examples that were shared here. But now, I know my team is extremely, extremely anxious for us to move up to the reception, so I just wanted to close us off and to say thank you first to those that have watched the live stream. Thank you. And then to those of us who are here in person, let's move up and let's continue these good conversations. I wanted to thank all of the speakers. Many have had to leave to other things, that's just life here. I wanted to thank you for coming here to listen and to be part of this community. It is such an inspiring thing to be part of, I will say. And let's go up and continue the conversations and continue to keep cooperation in motion. Thank you. Okay, how many countries? So we are now 30 countries that are part of 15.5. And I will say, though, because as Secretary General Nduva told us, with EAC as a supporting organization, you also get 8 for the price of 1. So, I mean, yes. And I feel very confident that we're going to reach 50. That is not a question for me, actually. But I feel what is inspiring is also that we have integrated the safeguards framework now, and we are seeing so much learning and sharing of best practices across geographies, across income segments, and that is despite large cuts to international development assistance. But I do believe that we're going to maintain this momentum. So, but let's now head up there. Thank you.